So answer key, my favorite student. Number 1. 1.23 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4 times 10 to the 5th. Half mark for the 1.23, half mark for the times 10 to the 5th. I would encourage you to be able to go into scientific notation without using technology. You can. I've showed most of you how to do it on your calculator, but sometimes the numbers are so big or so small that you can't type them into your calculator, and those are precisely the ones that we want to use scientific notation for. 1 times 10 to the negative, oh, that's wrong, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You could put 1.0, I'm not going to be that fussy, but one mark for the, half mark for the 1, half mark for the times 10 to the negative 4. 2.5 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 7. Half mark for the 2.5, half mark for the times 10 to the negative 7. 7.8062, and yes, you have to write all of those because those apparently are significant figures. Times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, times 10 to the positive 7. Half mark for the 7.8062. Half mark for the times 10 to the 7. Number 2, correct number of sig figs. And in scientific notation, we're multiplying. Kiefer, how many sig figs does 5.0 have? 2. How many sig figs does 1.6 have? 2 sig figs, 2 sig figs. I'm going to go to 2 sig figs. I type this in as is on my calculator. Scientific notation button 4. Did the 0.0 make a difference at all? Could I have gotten away without bothering to type that on my calculator? Yeah. In fact, normally I wouldn't type it on my calculator because I'm lazy. 1.6, scientific notation, negative 3. That would be wrong, because how many sig figs is that? 1. That's 2 sig figs. If they had said don't write in scientific notation, that's what I've written, but they want scientific notation. So I have to go 8.0. There's 2 sig figs times 10 to the 1. If you didn't put a 1 there, if you just left it blank, it's understood that there's a 1 there, but there does have to be a times 10. Half mark for the 8.0, half mark for the times 10. 2 sig figs, 2 sig figs. I'm going to go to 2 sig figs. A common mistake that I'm seeing with scientific notation, first of all, is this a fraction? Yeah. Is there more than one thing on the top? Not if I use my scientific notation button, so I don't need brackets around the top. Is there more than one thing on the bottom? Not if I use my scientific notation button, so I don't need brackets around the bottom. But here's the common mistake that I'm seeing. Kids are going 1.5, and then they're pressing times and then hitting their scientific notation button. You won't get an error on your calculator, but you'll find your answers are wonky. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to do this incorrectly. Negative 5 divided by 3.5 times, don't write it times, 8. That's not the correct answer. The digits are correct. Oh, I missed the 3 as well, Mr. Dueck. Good gosh. Let's try that again. This is why I like a good calculator. I can backspace and edit. That's not the correct answer. The digits are right. There's a 4, there's a 2, there's an 8, there's a 5, but the decimal's in the wrong place. And the reason is, as soon as you hit that times right there, as soon as you put a times, your L key, right there, your calculator doesn't know that that is on the bottom. And you would have to use brackets and do extra typing. So Jess, let's type less and be more accurate. That's a double win. No need for that. Don't hit the wrong button. Let's try that again, Mr. Dueck. Okay. 1.5, scientific notation, negative 5, divided by 3.5, scientific notation, 8. To 2 sig figs, I get 4 point. Is the 2 going to stay a 2 or become a 3? 4.3 times 10 to negative 14. Half mark for the 4.3, half mark for the times 10 to negative 14. Number 3. Ah! I don't know how to do this. One of the strategies that I'm going to give you is we are often going to turn a question that we don't know how to do into one that we do know how to do. I mean, I could learn a completely new procedure. I'll turn it into something I already know. Way easier. And so I looked at this. I said, we're adding. They want sig figs. They got scientific notation. I'll remove the scientific notation. I wrote the first one as 1, 2, 3, 4, 0.00075. And then I'm going to keep the decimals lined up. The second number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's the 3. And now that I've done that, I can say, oh, here's what I'm missing, so I'm going to round off to that decimal place. I type this in as is, 7.5, scientific notation, -4, plus 1.3, scientific notation, scientific notation, -5. Or you could have typed 0.00075 plus 0.00013. I get that. That's in scientific notation. That is 0.00763. And I guess I'm going to round off to that decimal place. Is the 6 going to stay a 6 or become a 7? Stay a 6, and it wants the answer in scientific notation. So I looked at this and I said, I think I'm just not going to write the 3 or 1, 2, 3, -4. Final answer is going to be 7.6 half mark times 10 to the -4 half mark. Yeah. Nope. You use the incorrect number of sig figs. So you're going to get a half mark if you have the times 10 to the -4, but you lose a half mark for bad sig figs. And you can turn the page over. Two sig figs, 2 sig figs. I'm going to go to 2 sig figs. 0.15 times 0.0016. And I got, oh, mine gave me an answer in scientific notation, and that is to 2 sig figs conveniently. So you could write 2.4 times 10 to the -4. Did they say we had to write in scientific notation? So some of you may have written 0.1234. Some of you may have written 0.00024. I'll take either. How many sig figs is 40.0? Not 1. 3. How many sig figs is 30.00? 4. What's the smallest number of sig figs that I just wrote? I'm going to go to 3 sig figs. It's going to be 40 divided by 30. I could have added all the point zeros, but is that going to make a difference to my calculation, Annika? Then forget it. But key idea, how many sig figs? 3. I'm going to go right to there. Is the 3 going to stay a 3 or become a 4? That's correct. Look up. I got to be fussy. If you did that, half mark off, because you didn't write 1.33, you wrote 1.333333, which is not to 3 sig figs, and we can't be that accurate here. Anybody do it in scientific notation? 1.33 times 10 to the 0? Thank you. You did? Okay, fine. I'll give you credit for that, but you did a lot of extra writing for no reason. 2 sig figs, 2 sig figs. I'm going to go to 2 sig figs. I don't like this quiz after. I'm going to change some of these numbers because too many of these worked out nice. I think this one also kind of worked out nice. 5.1 scientific notation, -5, divided by 6 scientific notation, -7. Because to 2 sig figs, it kind of drops into your lap. Did anybody write that in scientific notation? Really? You wrote this one in scientific notation, but you didn't write this one in scientific notation? 8.5 times 10 to the 1? I'll give you credit for that. But you did extra work. You were back with us now? Attention span and all? Okay. Adding and subtracting has nothing to do with counting sig figs. Adding and subtracting, I count decimal places. 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places. I'm going to go to 2 decimal places. I type it in as is, 5.06 plus 8.124. How many decimal places? 2. Is that 8 going to stay an 8 or become a 9? It's going to stay an 8. 13.18, which I know is to 4 sig figs, but that's not how we do adding or subtracting. Has to be that or nothing. Well, no, I guess you could have written 1.318 times 10 to the 1, but that's a lot of extra writing. How many decimal places? 3. How many decimal places? 1. I'm going to go to 1 decimal place. 615.824 minus 55.2. 1 decimal place. That's 6. Is that 6 going to stay a 6 or become a 7? It's going to stay. All or nothing. Can you give yourself a lovely score out of 12? If you need to lawyer with me, now is the time. Bring your quiz